personally commit right now that you're going to go find those history books and you're going to make sure that they don't say enslaved people should be grateful?
They don't say that.
They do say that. I'll show you the screenshot. I brought it with me because I knew you would say they don't. They do.
That's not in the standard.
Do they not?
What it says is, no, what it says specifically in that standard, and I questioned this when it came before our board, and I talked to the author of the standard, who you may or may not know is African American. He wrote the standard, and what it says is that during the time of slavery, there were slaves that materially benefited by selling services.
I say that's indoctrination.
I agree.
I agree. That's what I'm asking. Your job is to represent every Floridian of all ideologies.
It does not say slavery was good. We are still struggling with the evil of slavery to this day. We're still debating
Systemic racism?
No.
Comments like that, where and the talking point is always by an African American professor. Like,
token.
I don't care. Like, in all reality, and a majority of my community does not care. Okay. That is indoctrination. You are telling my child that enslavement was slightly beneficial for them. No, it was not.
No, we're not telling your child that. We're not telling you.
But that's what I'm getting from
when
that.
we go on break, I'll get you.
And from what the standards read.
Let me clarify.
And that's what we're getting.
Let me clarify.
That's the issue.
Let me
and
clarify.
I'm not. It's okay because I've read the standard and I know
It's not okay because
the problem is
it's not indoctrination.
Listen, but it's not indoctrination.
Indoctrination means, can I just define indoctrination?
No,
you're having
every single comment you've made today, every single comment that has been made today about indoctrination has been discussing this very right-leaning idea.
Yes.
We're missing the fact that there are other ideas. It's only indoctrination when it's happening to the right side, but not when it's happening. And I don't really like, honestly, I don't care. I'm not on the left, the right, I don't care. The point is that we have a groups of people that use this term indoctrination, parental rights, without recognizing that I want rights too. Right. And I believe that that's indoctrination.
See, this is the epitome of MAGA, of making America great again. You see, there is no time frame in American history when America was great for all of its people, or even for the overwhelming majority of its people, to the extent where no one was living in slavery, to the extent where no one was living under Jim Crow, where women had the right to vote, where women had the right, as I just learned recently, that women couldn't even have a bank account of their own without their husband or father or brother until 1974. Isn't that some bullshit? Women could not have a bank account until 1974 without a husband or brother or uncle or some man being the primary on that bank account. So women couldn't control their own future. Now, the Florida legislation is putting forward a history book that says that slavery was intrinsically valuable to the African slavery, that it helped the African slaves to be able to have a better life. And look at where they are now. If it wasn't for colonialism and imperialism and slavery, that blacks throughout the world would be in a suffering situation, a suffering state. Well, let's think about that for a second. Had black people been left alone in Africa, had the indigenous people in America been left alone and not colonized, not brutalized, not having their land taken from them, not having their agency taken from them, and fair trade and agreements were done throughout history, then how far along and how much better would black people in Africa have been? How much better would the indigenous of America, how much better would the people of India and the South Pacific, how much better would their lives be? Because they would have had agencies to declare their own government in whichever format the people would have declared their own government. Now, yes, I know someone is going to say that African chiefs and kings sold black people into slavery as well. This is true. It was the way of the world at the time. Slavery was fine. But just as slavery died out around the world, slavery would have died out in either case. But at least countries like Ghana and Ivory Coast and Angola, and the Congo would have developed with their own resources, with their own governments, trading fairly with Europeans and Asians and Americans to be able to develop their own societies in the way that they saw fit, where their people would not have had their families separated, their families destroyed, their lineage destroyed, simply because one group desired to have the resources of another group and saw the other people as being inferior. By teaching that the slaves should be grateful for being brought to the Americas, should be grateful for being brought under Christianity, that was somehow a boon for them, a benefit for them, that to help build European and American wealth was a benefit for all the other people of color around the world, is complete indoctrination to suggest that little children today that their mindset should be that whatever adversities they're facing in this world today, that in the long run, it would be to their benefit and to the greater benefit of those who are in power and those who are in control. That is pure indoctrination. It is pure rewriting of history and romanticizing it so that young white kids don't feel any shame or guilt about what their ancestors did. Black people have to take in any shame or guilt that we feel concerning tribes like the kingdoms like the Dahomey selling the Wayuda tribe into slavery. We have to deal with that, and we have, and we move forward. But we should have never had to deal with it to the level to which we have dealt with it. We should not have had to deal with our parents, at least in my age group, our parents telling us about how Jim Crow was. Our parents telling us about how their parents dealt with even more severe situations of Jim Crow and lynching and burning downs of their towns and flooding of their towns, and how they heard from their grandparents about being enslaved, being owned by another person, and that we should be grateful for it. Unfortunately, so many Black Americans have been duped into the religion and the culture of Western civilization that in the long run, subconsciously, they see it as a benefit. This is why so many Black people have a negative mindset towards Africa, because they've been duped into believing that Africa was worthless, Africa was in shambles, that Africa was at war with each other, just like Europeans were at war with each other, just like Europe was in shambles in comparison to what it should have been during those dark ages and middle ages and the age of exploration. To rewrite history in such a way is turning back the clock to make America great again for the white people and the white people only. Like, subscribe, share the video. Tell me what you guys think, and always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.